Well, do you want to know all about the Grassfield School District in Chesapeake? Well, today, that's what we're going to get into, and it's going to be all detailed and fun, and we're starting right now. Hey, my name is Sam Sansalone, and I'm a real estate agent in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And if it's your first time, great! Hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Then you'll get notified every time I do a video, and I do them every Wednesday about Hampton Roads, about real estate in Hampton Roads. Today we're talking about the Grassfield School District. It's one of the more in-demand school districts, not just in Chesapeake, but in the entire Hampton Roads area. It's one of the higher ranked school districts on some of the school ranking websites. So I want to get into details as to what's here, what the history of Grassfield is. What's it like to live around here? What's shopping looking like? What's the real estate and neighborhoods? What kind of elementary schools and middle schools are here? And any more little tidbits of information, even where the heck is it in relation to everything else? And I want to throw a couple cons in there too, the things that might not be optimal if you plan on living in Grassfield. So number one, where is it? Where's Grassfield? Well, I'll tell you, it's in the south section of Chesapeake, kind of in the middle, but it drops all the way down to the border of North Carolina and Virginia. On the east side, there's a road called Johnstown Road that is kind of almost the pseudo boundary, a little bit further east of that. And on the west side, it's just beyond that road you see, Route 17, which is the George Washington Highway. This whole area is what you would consider Grassfield. And again, I'm putting this the school boundary map here on the screen. Where is it in relation to everything else? Well, if you look and you're going to, for instance, the Norfolk Navy base on the north side of Norfolk, it's going to take you a solid 30 to sometimes even 40 minutes or more, depending on traffic, getting up to there, depending on also on which direction you go, because on one side there's a toll road. There's a toll road on the Route 17 Dominion Boulevard area, connecting up to the northern side of the area. But if you go on the east side, you bypass that toll, and it might take you a few minutes longer, but it would save you the best $1.16 toll that would take one way if you have a normal car. Now to downtown Norfolk, you've got the 464 interstate that connects almost straight up from this Grassfield area, the top of it, up to downtown Norfolk. So it could take you as little as 12-ish minutes or as much as 25 or so to get to downtown Norfolk. And then to Oceana, though, it's a drive. I mean, you're going to be taking a 30 to 35 minute ride at least, because you're going to be driving on the side roads for the most part getting there, because you can go all the way around the south side of Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. If you want to get to the ocean front, you're a solid 40 to 45 minutes away to the ocean front, give or take, from traffic. And to the town center, kind of the new downtown Virginia Beach area, is about a solid 30 or so minutes. One of the cons here to being in Grassfield is that you're just kind of farther away from lots of activity besides downtown Norfolk, because that 464 interchange is pretty handy and can get you up there pretty quickly. Now, the history behind Grassfield, well, there's not a whole lot specifically since they named this area Grassfield, because it's not really a general neighborhood, it's a school district area, because this school district was created with the overflow of several other high schools, Deep Creek, Hickory, and Great Bridge. This area was developed, and the school was built in 2007. Since then, it's become one of the most popular school districts in the whole area. Because this area was called Grassfield, I have a hunch that's because there were lots of grassy fields in Grassfield. Another fun thing about Grassfield, if you look just off of Bells Mill Road, there's a little street there. You see that little street? It goes into nothing. It's March Corprew Place. Well, why is that important? Well, March Corprew was a guy that fought in a lot of battles in the Civil War time period, 1860s mainly, and he lived in this area, which was at the time Norfolk County, and he helped develop the area of Bells Mill, which is where this road is. And so he did a lot for the community, was a philanthropist, kind of known around the area very, very well. And so because of all the things he did for the area, they named a little street after him, even though the street's super tiny. So what's it like living in Grassfield? Well, it's a lot of country area, so Chesapeake in general started out more country, and as time went on in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and 2000s, more new construction was built, and so a lot of that country land, or grassy fields, got built up into more neighborhoods. And so you'll see a lot of neighborhoods in the middle of a bunch of areas that are just country. And so it feels like you're in suburbs, but then sometimes it feels like you're just in the middle of nowhere. And Grassfield goes all the way down to the border of North Carolina and Virginia. So that bottom half, or 2/5 of that school district, is lots of plains, lots of some houses, but a ton of land, lots of farmland. And the rest of the areas where all the neighborhoods are and where all the shopping is up closer to the northern section of Grassfield. Since there's been a lot more development in this area, you'll see lots of new construction still being built, and it's going to keep happening because there's so much opportunity to do that here. Outside of strip malls and grocery stores and lots of houses, there's not a whole lot inside of Grassfield. You're going to have to go outside several minutes, and especially north and even into Virginia Beach. But there are some parks nearby too, so anything outside nature-like. You're close to the Great Dismal Swamp also, which is right near Route 17 on the west side of this school district. You see, you have some outdoor activities, but other than that, you're going to have to go outside of this area to get, like, for instance, to downtown Norfolk. Any sort of high hustle and bustle area, you're not going to find that in this area. Now, the neighborhoods. There were houses built, again, 80, 90 years ago and longer. A lot of these houses were built starting in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, but the big boom was really in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s and to now. I mean, places like Creekwood, Las Gaviotas, Cedar Crossing, Cahoon Plantation, Sawyer's Mill, like these are all in either the central or the western side of Grassfield for the most part. Mariners Point, and there's one 55 and over community in here that is one of the few that's discussed in the entire Hampton Roads area that's called Eagle Point, which if you do want the Eagle Point, you might not really care that it's in Grassfield School District. Parkview is another great new one that's been developed in a pre-existing neighborhood, an older neighborhood, but lots of new houses have been built in there, which has just changed the whole dynamic of the neighborhood. Lock Haven Estates, Bramble Shores, I mean, these are just several of the dozens of neighborhoods in here, whether it be older houses. There are also some houses in here in Grassfield that aren't even really considered in neighborhoods. They're just scattered about because, again, this is a country area. It started out that way. Some built mostly even in the 90s and 2000s, or new construction, or houses built in the last 5 or 10 years, which is pretty common also. So you got quite a few different options. The newer houses are kind of the modern style, more open floor plans, lots of windows, just newer houses. Much different than the way it used to be in even the 80s, 70s, and 60s, where lots of the houses were more cut up, the rooms were cut up, and didn't feel as open as it does in the last 25 years or so. So you've got a mixture of both types of houses. So depending on where you want to be and what size houses you're looking for, it would factor into which age house you might end up getting. Because if you want a larger house, some of these newer construction houses, they're anywhere from like 2,000 to 3,000 square feet, generally speaking. But there are also attached houses, like so, for instance, townhouses and condos. They go up into the $200,000 range, even up to $350,000 and $400,000 for some of the newer townhouses. But most of these houses are anywhere from like 1,000 square feet to 1,500 square feet, give or take. Some of them are a little bit more than that, and like 2 or 3 bedroom. But then when you get into the detached houses, most of these are starting, I mean, you get some that are less than 200, but starting in the low 200s is where you kind of get your entry level for Grassfield. Most of the houses in this school district, the meaty section of price range is talking between 300, 350 up to 450 or so, and you can go up from there. I mean, there are some houses that are, 500, 600, $700,000 and up to $1 million. But this area was and is developed in a time where people love that kind of 25 to 3,000 square foot house, 4 or 5 bedrooms, and there's plenty of land to do this kind of house and to sell it for that $450 price range. Shillelagh Farms is getting closer to that south central area of Grassfield, which is really nice, but kind of a further drive from the main part of town. I will say though that to get to Shillelagh Farms, the road to Shillelagh Farms, which is Shillelagh Road, is a long and narrow road and is actually voted the most dangerous road in the city. It's a 2-lane road and you can go pretty fast on it, and there's ditches on each side. So people, when it's in the evening time and you think you're the only person around, or it's real quiet, people end up flying down this road or not realizing how close they are to each side, and you take a turn on that road and you might get in an accident. So this is something to consider if you do want to move down further into this area or further down south beyond that. So if you have a moderate to higher skill budget and you want the school district, this might be a place for you, but it doesn't mean that you can't get a more affordable house as well and be in the school district. You just have to be a little bit more choosy and also maybe concede some other things to make sure you get the school district that you want. There's also also some water over here, some creeks, and some nice homes on the water. If you do want a house that might need some work, but you also want something with some land on it and might be okay with a septic tank and well. If you go further down south, a lot of these have that septic and well situation. If you're okay with that, you might be able to find something in your price range or something that you like because it's worth you driving down further to get to that house. Well, school districts, well again, Grassfield's the high school, one of the highest ranked schools in not just the area but the state, and it's home to Chesapeake's STEM program, which I can drop more information below in the description about this. Now, middle schools, there are a few: Hugo Owens, Great Bridge, and Hickory. And then elementary schools, there are several. There's Hickory Elementary, Deep Creek Elementary, Deep Creek Central Elementary, Grassfield Elementary, of course. There's also Cedar Road Elementary and Southeastern. So there's several elementary school districts. And I'll drop links to all these for the niche.com school review links, so you can find more about those and their ratings. Now, shopping, again, not beyond the strip malls and the grocery stores, this is not the place you want to go. Like, the malls aren't going to be here. It's not a bunch of action happening here, but you can get your essentials. There's a neighborhood Walmart, there's a Harris Teeter close by, as well as a Kroger that I'm a big fan of Kroger if you've seen any of my videos. There's a Super Walmart on the way to Shillelagh that's near the high school, as well as a Food Lion. And then there's an Aldi that was just built recently on Cedar Road. So a lot of this shopping is on Cedar Road. Like, that's the main road that I think if you take that going from one side to the other, you'll find most of what you're looking for, as well as other like businesses and some good restaurants. And my favorite restaurant that I've mentioned in other videos is Burrito Perdido. My wife and I's favorite burrito place that's next to a gas station on Cedar Road. You wouldn't even know it was there. It's way worth it. I mean, you go in there, they don't even use can openers. That's like their known thing, is they don't have a can opener because everything is fresh. That's on Cedar Road, and some other good restaurants there too. And if you can't find what you want in Grassfield or on Cedar in that area, you can go further east to get to Great Bridge, which is you see Battlefield Boulevard. There's plenty of things over there, and that connects to the main like Greenbrier, the rest of the areas of Chesapeake. And then if you go on the west side, there's George Washington Highway, which connects towards Suffolk. So if you have to go that way, you can do that too. But if you go an extra few minutes and take that toll road, if you want, you can go quickly up to near Greenbrier, where there's a mall and more of the big box stores that you might be accustomed to. Which leads me to one of the cons I'll mention about living in this area is one of the exits going north to other parts of town has a toll road. It's just over $1 per way. So if you have an Easy Pass, and I did a video about tolls and tunnels, and in that I showed you how to get an Easy Pass for this area, and I'll put that link up here. But if you do want to like avoid traffic, for instance, or if you just have to go towards where the toll is, it is something you have to factor in. So if you want to use it like 2 times a day, 5 days a week, you might spend, maybe about $12, $15 a week. So that could get up to like $50, $60 a month if you end up, driving it regularly. But there are ways around it, especially like towards Great Bridge, so you don't have to go that way all the time. But keep that in mind, because remember, if you pay about $50 or $60 a month for something, that's the equivalent of about $10,000 of mortgage. Like for instance, a 290 house with a toll is like the equivalent of buying a $300,000 house without a toll. So I'd say if you're coming to Grassfield, you kind of have to pay a premium for the area for the most part, but there are places where you can get some affordable property and still be in the school district. There's a lot more opportunity for growth in this area as the property keeps getting built further and further south. Keep that in mind too, because if you're staying here for a long time, you might see the fact that the country area that you bought in originally might change subtly as time goes on. So that could be a positive for you or a negative depending on what you like. And I'll see you on the next video.